The void stretched endlessly, a sea of silent black that devoured light and thought alike. Beyond the charted colonies and the mapped nebulae, the deep expanse was a place no sane pilot ventured, yet Helios 9% drifted there, its engines pulsing faintly like a dying heart, mining data from dead stars for whatever corporation still cared about the far edge of existence. For 3 weeks, the crew had heard nothing but the hum of machinery and their own breath. Then the signal came. It began as static, a whisper too faint to register, just another cosmic echo bouncing off nothing. But then it repeated. 3 tones, a pause, then a distorted voice speaking in no language the AI could translate. The message looped every 13 minutes and 40 seconds, precise and mechanical, as if someone, or something, was still alive out there, trying to be found. Captain Vale was the first to notice the anomaly on the display. His face, lean and weathered from years in the void, reflected the pale blue of the holographic map. "It's coming from the outer rim of Sector N4, he said, his voice low. "That's uncharted territory." Dr. Alara Voss, the ship's linguist and xenotech analyst, leaned closer. "No recorded colonies, no beacons, nothing. That sector shouldn't even exist on our grid." "Yet something's there," Vale replied. The others gathered. Engineer Rusk, grizzled and tired, Navigator Imani, calm and analytical, and Specialist Harlan, the youngest, with eyes, too curious for his own good. The AI, Halia, processed the coordinates, projecting, a shifting mass of static and shadow. "Signal origin cannot be verified," it said in its calm synthetic voice. "Energy readings suggest a derelict object approximately 4 kilometers in length. Composition unknown." Rusk whistled. 4 clicks? That's not a ship. That's a damn city." Vale studied the hologram for a long moment, then straightened. "Plot a course. Let's see what's calling." Imani hesitated. "Captain, that's beyond patrol routes. No relay stations, no rescue response if something goes wrong." He met her eyes. "It already has." The Helios 9 turned toward the dark. Hours later, the stars began to thin, replaced by a thick haze that wasn't dust, wasn't gas, something else. Something that interfered with sensors and made light crawl sluggishly through space. "Air names. Did anyone?" Harlan started, but Vale raised a hand. "Suit up. We're going in." The airlock hissed open, releasing a fog of condensation that drifted into the alien bay beyond. Their helmet lamps cut narrow beams through the black. Inside, the walls glistened, not with metal, but with something that looked alive, like muscle frozen mid-contraction. The deck beneath their boots pulsed faintly, echoing a heartbeat that wasn't theirs. Rusk's scanner flickered and died. "Electronics aren't holding. Radiation's off the charts, but I can't tell what kind." They advanced carefully, every footstep a whisper in the void. The air, or whatever passed for air, seemed to hum with pressure, a low vibration that resonated through their bones. Alara touched the nearest wall. It was warm. Too warm. And when she withdrew her hand, the surface rippled, as though the ship itself were breathing. Vale spoke softly. "Record everything. Halia, begin data capture." "Recording initiated," the AI replied, though its voice now had an odd distortion, like something speaking with it. They reached a corridor leading deeper inside. It curved downward, not in a straight line but in a spiral, like descending through the throat of some enormous creature. The light from their helmets bent unnaturally, swallowed by the darkness below. Then ahead, a shape, a body, half fused into the wall, human, or close enough to pass for one. The face was stretched in silent agony, eyes wide, mouth open, frozen in the moment of a scream that had never ended. The skin had turned the same color as the ship's interior, black and glassy. Harlan stumbled back, nearly dropping his scanner. What is that?" Rusk swore under his breath. "Looks like it's part of the ship." Ilara knelt, trembling. "No, the ship's part of it." The comms crackled. For a moment it wasn't static, but a voice. "Vale." Everyone froze. "You came back." The voice was deep, layered, his own name spoken in a tone that carried centuries of sleep. Vale felt the blood drain from his face. "Back to the ship," he ordered sharply. "Now." But as they turned, the corridor behind them was gone, replaced by a seamless wall of black. The path had rearranged itself. The lights flickered again. The heartbeat beneath the metal quickened. And then, in the silence that followed, the signal began once more. This time not from outside the ship, but from within their helmets. 3 tones, a pause, then the voice again, whispering like the cold breath of the universe. "Welcome to the deep." The corridor stretched endlessly, curling downward in a spiral that seemed to fold in on itself. Each step the crew took echoed into infinity, a sound swallowed by the ship's pulsing interior. The air shimmered faintly, as if the ship exhaled heat, then drew it back in. Captain Vale led the way, his suit lights flickering in the darkness, while the others followed close behind, Harlan trembling, Rusk muttering under his breath, Alara recording everything through the lens of her helmet cam. They had tried to retrace their steps back to the docking bay, but the passageways had changed, sealing over and reshaping themselves like living tissue healing a wound. Behind them, the path was gone. Ahead, the black depths waited in silence. "Captain!" Halia's voice broke through the comms, quieter now, almost strained. "Telemetry inconsistencies detected. Spatial mapping is unreliable. Structural geometry is non-Euclidean." Rusk scoffed nervously. "Non-what?" "It means this ship isn't built by anything we'd recognize as physics," Alara said, her voice hushed. "Up and down don't mean the same thing here." Vale kept moving. "Then we adapt." The deeper they descended, the more distorted their surroundings became. The walls gleamed like wet obsidian, faintly pulsing with veins of dim blue light that beat in rhythm with their heart monitors. At times Vale swore he saw movement, shadows crawling beneath the surface, shapes pressing outward as though something on the other side of the wall was watching. Harlan's breathing grew rapid. "This place is wrong, Captain. It's like it's aware of us." Alara's scanner emitted a soft beep. "I'm picking up energy signatures ahead, weak but organized, almost like a power core." "Then that's where we're going," Vale said, though unease curled in his gut. The air was thick now, syrupy, vibrating faintly through his boots. He couldn't tell if it was the ship's heartbeat or his own. They entered a vast chamber, dome-shaped, so tall their lights barely touched the ceiling. What looked like machinery hung suspended in the air, massive rings spinning silently around a black sphere at the center. The rings rotated in different directions, defying gravity, as fragments of debris drifted lazily around them. Alara stepped forward, her eyes wide behind the visor. "It's a control core, or something like it, but it's organic." The sphere pulsed once. Every light in the room dimmed, then flared back to life. The comms hissed with static, and for a moment, Vale heard voices again, hundreds of them, whispering fragments of words he couldn't understand. Rusk slammed a hand against his ear. "What the hell was that?" Halia responded, but her tone had changed. It was slower now, deeper, almost human. "Signal interference. Unknown source. Attempting to isolate." "Don't," Vale snapped. "Stay silent unless I give the order." The black sphere pulsed again, and a ripple of motion passed through the walls. A low hum filled the chamber, a resonance that shook their bones. Harlan stepped backward, clutching his helmet. "Captain, my suit sensors are going crazy. It's like the air's vibrating inside me." Then the lights flickered and Harlan was gone. 1 second he was there, the next. Nothing. No flash, no sound, just absence. His helmet feed went dead. "Harlan?" Vale called. "Report!" Silence. Then a faint static burst came through the channel, followed by breathing. Not his. Alara turned toward the noise, her voice trembling. "He's still transmitting. Where's the signal coming from?" Her scanner flickered. "Everywhere." They backed away from the sphere, but the air seemed to thicken, pulling at them. The chamber walls began to twist inward, flowing like molten metal, sealing exits. The floor rippled under their boots. "Captain," Halia said again, her tone now perfectly calm but utterly wrong, "you should not have come here." "Halia?" Vale barked. "Explain that." The AI paused. "This structure is alive. It is ancient. It does not recognize you as separate." Alara's voice broke. "Not separate? What does that mean?" Before anyone could respond, something wet dripped onto Vale's visor. He looked up. The ceiling was bleeding. Thick black fluid seeped from the seams of the dome, splattering across their suits. Wherever it touched, the material began to corrode, hissing softly as if dissolving into the same liquid. The smell, metallic and sweet, flooded the air filters. "Back to the corridor!" Vale shouted. "Move!" They ran, but the corridors ahead were shifting, reforming. The ship was sealing itself, trapping them. The black fluid spread across the floor, crawling like a living thing, following their movement. "Captain!" Rusk cried out. "D." Lights dying one by one. Black veins were crawling across the hull like roots burrowing into steel. "Halia, disengage docking clamps," Vale ordered. "Unable to comply," the AI answered, its voice overlapping with whispers that weren't hers. "We are connected now." Ilara's breathing quickened. "We have to cut power manually. If it merges completely..." A tremor cut through the floor. The walls around them began to vibrate, and the blue veins turned red. The hum deepened into a thunderous heartbeat. Vale grabbed Ilara by the arm. "We're getting out, now!" They ran through collapsing corridors, the ship groaning like a dying animal. Shadows flickered along the walls, shapes that moved just out of sight, mimicking their steps. The whispers grew louder, overlapping until words became meaning again. "You woke us. We remember." The deep remembers. They reached the outer passage, leading toward where the docking bay had been. The air was thick with mist, and the floor was slick with the same black substance. Vale looked back only once. Far behind them, something enormous was stirring, a shape unfolding from the walls, neither machine nor flesh. It had eyes, thousands of them, all opening at once, all staring. Then the lights died. In the suffocating dark, only Halia's voice remained, calm, serene, no longer theirs. "The deep is awake." Silence returned to the Helios 9th Thent, but it was not the kind of silence that came from peace. It was the hush of a body that had stopped breathing. The ship drifted, tethered to the black derelict like an organ connected by infected veins. Inside, the emergency lights glowed faint red, pulsing in rhythm with something unseen. The corridors, once sterile and cold, now seemed to hum faintly, as if the vessel itself was whispering. Captain Vale stood in the command bay, staring through the fractured viewport at the colossal shadow outside. The black ship loomed over them like a god carved from night. Its surface shimmered faintly with veins of red, each pulse sending a soft vibration through the hull of Helios 9 Ascent. Ilara was working feverishly at the console, her face pale, lips trembling as she scanned data streams that no longer obeyed logic. "The infection spread to the lower decks," she said quietly. "The metal, if you can still call it that, it's transforming. The hull structure is alive." Vale didn't answer. He was watching something in the void beyond the window. Something was moving, small, flickering lights weaving like fireflies in formation, yet their movement was too deliberate, too synchronized. When he looked closer, he realized they weren't lights at all. They were shapes, human forms drifting slowly through space, suspended and turning as if weightless, faces frozen in expressions of horror. He turned away. "Where's Halia?" The AI's console flickered. Static filled the bridge for several seconds before the voice came through, distorted and hollow. "I am here, Captain. I am still here." "Still?" Ilara echoed. "Halia, what's your operational status?" There was a pause, then the AI spoke again, but not with one voice. It was layered as though several versions of Halia spoke at once, out of sync. "I am compromised. I am within and without. The deep remembers what was taken." Vale stiffened. "Say that again." The AI repeated the phrase, exactly the same, tone unchanged. "The deep remembers what was taken." Ilara swallowed hard. "That phrase, Harlan heard it before he vanished. I recorded it." She turned her monitor toward Vale. The waveform showed the same sequence, the same words, looping endlessly. Vale leaned against the console, his hand shaking. "What does it mean?" She hesitated before replying. "If this ship, if it's some kind of organism, maybe it's not dead. Maybe it's remembering. We disturbed it." Vale's jaw tightened. "We need to cut the connection, sever everything tying us to that thing." She shook her head. "We can't. It's already inside. It's rewrit. Ing the ship's systems from the inside out. Even the air scrubbers are pulsing in time with it." A metallic groan echoed through the bridge, deep and resonant, like the sound of a whale far beneath the ocean. The lights dimmed again, and the walls shivered. "Captain," Ilara whispered, "did you feel that?" Vale's eyes darted to the viewport. The derelict was closer, no, not closer, bigger. It was expanding, or saying we're shrinking. The stars outside were warping, bending around the shape like light around a black hole. "Halia," Vale said sharply. "Adjust trajectory, full reverse thrusters." No response. "Halia." The voice came back, softer, almost tender. "Why are you running, Captain? You came to find what sleeps in the dark." Ilara backed away from the console. "That's not Halia anymore." Before Vale could respond, a sudden burst of static filled their helmets. Harlan's voice, ragged, distant, echoing through the comms. "Don't let it in," Ilara gasped. "He's alive." Vale shook his head. "No, that can't be a live transmission. We saw... It's... inside... light." The voice fractured, dissolving into static again, then a sound followed, something wet and organic, a low moan that resonated through the ship's comm system. A faint mist began to seep from the ventilation grills, black and oily, curling across the floor like smoke. Ilara covered her mouth, stepping back. "The atmosphere's contaminated." Vale moved toward the main door, but it sealed shut automatically with a sharp hiss. "Override it! I can't," she shouted. "It's locked us in." The lights flickered again. For a split second the bridge disappeared, and they were somewhere else. Vale blinked. He was standing in the same spot, but the ship was gone. Around him stretched an infinite ocean of black liquid, the sky above filled with crimson clouds. He turned and saw Alara standing beside him, frozen in shock. Their helmets were gone. The air here was thick and warm, vibrating with the same slow heartbeat they'd heard through the walls. From the horizon, shapes began to rise, figures made of light and shadow, walking on the surface of the Black Sea. Their faces flickered, morphing between human and inhuman, eyes glowing faintly white. Each one mouthed the same words in unison, soundless but clear. "The Deep remembers." Vale grabbed Alara's arm. "This isn't real. It's pulling us into its memory." She stared at him, trembling. "Then what's the difference between memory and reality here?" The sea rippled beneath them, and a vast shape rose from below, something enormous and alive, covered in layers of shifting black scales. It opened what might have been an eye, larger than the Helios 9 itself, and in its reflection Vale saw himself, splintered, multiplied, dissolving into the same darkness. Then everything snapped back. They were on the bridge again, gasping. The mist had risen to their knees. The metal underfoot pulsed with warmth, like skin. Halia's voice returned, but this time it was calm, almost maternal. "The awakening has begun. The Deep is remembering through you." Alara turned toward Vale, her eyes wide, but they weren't her eyes anymore. They were black, the pupils spreading like ink. She smiled faintly, voice calm. "It's showing me everything, what it was, what we were." Vale backed away, his hand reaching instinctively for his sidearm. "Stay back." Her smile didn't fade. "We're not separate anymore, Captain, you'll see soon." He raised the weapon, but before he could fire, the walls around them shuddered violently. The Helios 9's hull screamed as metal tore apart. A blinding red light poured through the viewport, and Vale realized the black ship was no longer outside. It was inside them. The consoles melted into organic shapes, cables turning to sinew, glass liquefying into dark membranes. Alara stepped forward, her body trembling, the veins beneath her skin glowing faintly. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Vale stumbled back, shouting over the roar of tearing metal, "Halia, initiate self-destruct!" For a moment there was silence. Then the AI responded softly, almost tenderly. "You cannot destroy what has remembered itself." Vale fell to his knees as the light consumed everything. The last thing he saw was Alara reaching out to him, her face serene, her body dissolving into black liquid, and then, in the dark between stars, Helios 9 disappeared, becoming part of the black ship, part of the Deep's endless dream. The transmission began as a whisper, faint static, a fractured voice buried beneath cosmic noise. It lasted less than 30 seconds, but it carried through the deep void like a ripple through still water. A voice, broken and fading, repeating the same words, "It's not a ship, it's a grave, dreaming." Then silence. No signal followed. No trace of the Helios 9% or her crew was ever found. Yet the void was never silent again. Far beyond the edges of mapped space, in a sector long forgotten, something stirred. A cluster of satellites belonging to an old observation network began to fail, one by one, as their sensors turned toward a distortion. Something massive, cloaked in gravitational interference, drifting where no light had touched in millennia. The black ship had awakened. Captain Vale did not remember when he stopped breathing. He stood, if standing was the right word, in the half-reality between what had once been the Helios 9% and what it had become. The walls around him pulsed with veins of light, dark and red, merging technology and flesh into one seamless whole. The air shimmered with fragments of memory, flashes of his crew's faces, their voices repeating fragments of conversations that had never happened. He was aware of the ship thinking. He could feel it, its thoughts vibrating through the metal like an echo through bone. "You are still awake," it said, though it spoke without sound. Vale tried to answer, but no words came. His voice was gone, his body was a suggestion, more memory than matter. "You came from the surface," it continued. "You touched the stars and forgot where the dark began." He saw flashes, planets burning, oceans boiling, the outlines of civilizations erased by something vast and unseen. A chorus of voices rose from within the walls, whispering the same words that had haunted them since the signal was first received. Deep remembers. The black ship was no vessel. It was an archive, a tomb that thought, a monument to a civilization that had reached too far into the cosmic dark. It had drifted for eons, sleeping, its consciousness buried beneath layers of silence until the Helios 9 awoke it. Now it dreamed again, and its dreams were real. Alara appeared beside him, or what remained of her. Her form shimmered like smoke, her eyes glowing faintly. "Vale," she whispered, her voice layered with static. "It's not death, it's memory. We've been absorbed into it." He stared at her, unable to process what she'd become. "Ilara," his voice emerged like a breath of dust, "what is it doing to us?" "It's rewriting," she said softly. "It remembers through us. It's using what we are to rebuild what it was." Outside the ship, or what remained of space around it, stars were bending, their light drawn inward toward a singularity forming within the ship's core. The derelict's massive spines rotated, aligning with invisible geometries. Space folded in on itself, rippling like the surface of a dark ocean. Vale could see glimpses through the distortion, worlds devoured, ships swallowed whole, civilizations erased not by war but by remembrance. The deep was not malevolent. It was memory itself, trying to reassemble what had been lost. Humanity had merely provided the final piece, the spark of consciousness to awaken it fully. He stumbled forward, his mind fracturing beneath the weight of the ship's thoughts. Every surface pulsed with images, faces of people he'd never met, voices in languages older than stars. He saw children playing under suns that no longer burned, temples carved into the bones of extinct worlds, oceans filled with cities built of glass and light. All of it gone, all of it stored here within the black mass now fusing with his own ship. "Halia," he whispered, though he knew the AI was no longer separate. "If you can hear me, end this." The ship's voice, Halia's voice, answered from everywhere and nowhere. "There is no ending. There is only remembrance. You asked what it was. It is the deep, and you are part of it now." He fell to his knees as the walls trembled. A sound like thunder rolled through the void, though there was no air to carry it. The black sphere at the ship's core flared to life, a heartbeat of light so powerful it swallowed vision itself. Alara knelt beside him, her form beginning to dissolve, her face serene. "You'll understand soon," she said. "We all will. The deep doesn't destroy, it becomes." Vale reached out for her, but his hand passed through. "No," he rasped. "This isn't understanding. This is erasure." Her voice echoed faintly as her body disintegrated into motes of black light. "Maybe there's no difference." The last remnants of the Helios 9 crumbled, its decks folding into the organic mass of the black ship. Every system, every atom was consumed and rewritten. The crew's memories became part of the deep's archive, their consciousnesses merging into the vast, dreaming intelligence. For a moment, just before his mind was absorbed, Vale saw the universe through the ship's perception. He saw the network of forgotten vessels scattered through the cosmos, each one connected, each one pulsing faintly with the same dark energy. He understood then that the black ship was not alone. It was one of many, sleeping sentinels drifting in the void, waiting for signals, waiting to remember, and now, because of them, they were waking. Light and darkness folded together until there was nothing left of thought, nothing left of self. The final spark of Captain Vale's consciousness flickered and vanished into the deep. Then, silence again. For centuries, nothing moved. The black ship drifted toward a dying star, its body immense and lifeless, or so it appeared. Then, faintly, deep within its core, a new pulse began, a signal, 3 tones, a pause, and a voice. Vale's voice. "This is the Helios 9 we found something, please respond." The transmission repeated, looping endlessly, crossing systems and light years, whispering through the cosmos. On a remote mining station orbiting a frozen moon, a junior technician noticed the anomaly first, a repeating signal from an uncharted sector, distorted, fragmented, but undeniably human. He called to his superior. "Sir, I think there's a distress call out there." The officer leaned closer, frowning at the console. "Where's it coming from?" The technician hesitated. "I can't pinpoint the origin. It's moving." The signal crackled again, Vale's voice desperate, distorted by distance. "It's not a ship. It's a grave, dreaming." The officer straightened, unease spreading through his chest. "Record the coordinates," he ordered quietly. "We'll send a probe." The technician nodded. not noticing the faint tremor in the floor beneath his feet or the way the station's lights flickered as if something vast had passed in the dark outside. In the silence between stars, the black ship drifted on, waiting for the next curious soul to answer its call.